We've ended the 10-game road trip with a lost game and a lost series, but I'm sure you'll all agree it's hard to look at this 10-game road trip in anything other than a really positive way. The Oakland A's are coming to this season with really no expectations whatsoever on them, and so far we've seen lots of positive signs. Let's take a look at all of the action that we saw in this 3-game series in Toronto against the Blue Jays. It all started out in a negative way. We knew there might be an issue or two with the team heading to Toronto, having to cross the border into Canada. If you're not vaccinated against COVID, you cannot go into Canada. And unfortunately, Austin Allen, AJ Puck and Kirby Snead were all placed on a restricted list for undisclosed reasons, but we know what they are. And even more unfortunately, Stephen Piscotty was put on the COVID injured list. We don't know if he's got COVID or if it's a close contact or anything like that, but after all of the player losses we've had, with trading guys away and losing free agents, to then have another 4 guys of our main 28-man roster on the shelf for one reason or another, it was a real tough ask at the end of this road trip to take on the Toronto Blue Jays. And you have to say, given all that has been thrown at us, Mark Kotsay and his coaching staff have done a really good job to put a very competitive team out on the field. So let's look at the details from Game 1. Unfortunately, it was a 4-1 loss, and it started in a negative way. We were behind right from the off. Vlad Guerrero Jr., what a beast he is. You know he's going to get you at some point in a 3-game series, and he got us straight away in the bottom of the first inning with a home run off Dalton Jeffries. And we never got the lead all the rest of the way. But what we can say is that the A's showed good fight. We came back, we were 2-0 down, we brought it back to 2-1. Pinder's run scoring single in the top of the 6th, and it was really annoying. This was a bit of a feature in the series that we just got back into it. Top of the 6th, reducing the deficit to 2-1, and then we gave up a run in the bottom half of the inning just to give them back that little cushion. So we ended up 4-1 losers, but Dalton Jeffries did a good job. It's a case of bend, don't break. You know, this is a young team, they're learning in the major leagues. He went 4.1 innings, gave up a couple of runs, would have liked to have gone deeper, I'm sure, but he didn't let things snowball on him. We kept us in the game, and that's exactly what you want. And it was also really, really good to see Kevin Smith break his hitless streak to start the season. I'm sure he must have felt under a lot of pressure going back to Toronto. You've got Matt Chapman over the other side on the team, making plays as always, and you know, he'd started out, what was he, an 0-for-16 start to the season, so to come out against his former team, get a couple of hits, must have been really, really good for his confidence. So good for Kevin Smith, but unfortunately a 4-1 loss to start the series. We should lead on to Game 2 on Saturday, and probably by quite a distance, my favourite game so far in this young season. What a thriller that was. Started out so positively, going up 5-1, not least with Sean Murphy with an absolute laser shot, 452 feet on a line. Incredible. When he hits a ball, it stays hit. Sean Murphy hits big boy home runs, or big booty home runs, as we may need to modify the sign for that one, but really good start, 5-1 lead. Unfortunately, here we go. Blue Jays got back into it. We coughed up the lead. 3-run bottom of the 6th by Domingo Azevedo, including, of course, a home run by Matt Chapman. We knew it was going to come at some point. I did predict a 2-home run game. Thankfully, didn't get that. But what can you say? So it's back-to-back home runs. Matt Chapman with a 2-run shot, and Zach Collins ties it up 5-5. You've got the big Toronto crowd up on their feet, cheering for the team. You know, an A's, maybe even last season, with a lot more talent on our roster, maybe we wouldn't have come back and won that game, but we did. We kept in there, we held on, and we got into the final inning, and you know, it was just brilliant stuff. We've got Christian Bethancourt, who's come up, signed him on a minor league deal. He was only with the team in Toronto because Austin Allen was on a restricted list, so he came up, worked a really, really good at-bat to get on base, and then up he comes Christian Pache, all of our favourite. I mean, just straight away, I am so pumped for all of the fans out there in Oakland who are going to see him at the Coliseum this coming week. What a superstar he is. 2-run shot to make it 7-5. I was leaping about my living room. Fantastic stuff. What an incredible game and a great way to win, and meant so much because that's a big win against a very good team, to take on board the disappointment of losing that 5-1 lead, but still finding the energy, finding the heart to come back and win it. Fantastic. You don't see that often from a young, developing team, but that's what we got in this one. And it also ensured that we would finish this road trip with a 500 record, which we all would have taken, wouldn't we, before the season started. So fantastic stuff there. The only big downside in that game was an atrocious strike zone by the home plate umpire. His balls and strikes were an absolute mess. And so here is this series inside the game, taking a look at that Game 2 strike zone. Taking an inside look at the Toronto series, we have to look at the atrocious strike zone that home plate umpire Jeff Nelson dished out in Game 2 of the series. This is from Baseball Savant, or Baseball Savant as some more like to call it, and these are the called strike pitches, so not the swinging strikes, the strikes that the umpire decided to call as a strike. And as you can see, whilst up and down he was generally okay, left and right he was hopeless, and both sides of the plate he was giving pitches to the pitcher. Although it wasn't consistent, to be honest, there were plenty of balls out there that he was calling to, so you really didn't know what he was going to do. When you look at the numbers there, it looks like he's favoured the A's pitchers a bit more, but when you go through all of the pitches, actually it feels a little bit more like the A's quickly got wise to what Nelson was doing and basically the bad day he was having, so they tended to throw pitches out to those areas a bit more, thinking they would get the call. So clever from the pitching staff and from Sean Murphy behind the plate, the Gold Glover there. But yes, it was really tricky for the hitters, and when you look and put a box over the strike zone, you can see just how extended the edges of that strike zone were. You didn't know if he was going to call it a strike or a ball, so what do you do? The players always talk about the fact that you can't cover both sides of the plate, you can't look inside and outside, you've got to pick one and adjust. Well, when he's giving you, nearly basically more than 2 ball widths either side of the plate on top of what you should have, well, it's going to be a tough night, or a tough afternoon in fact, for the hitters. Perfectly illustrated by Matt Chapman. So I did predict in the series preview, Mystic Matt, I said that Matt Chapman would go deep twice in a game. Well, he only went deep once in this one, and that was one time too many. But look at what he had to deal with here. This is early in the game, second inning, a pitch from Paul Blackburn that's clearly inside. Chappie's taking it all the way, but the umpire decides to call it a ball, and Chappie just has a little walk outside of the batter's box, looks up at the umpire, clearly asking him a question. You sure about that, mate? You're calling that a strike, are you? Well, yes, he was. So that's the inside pitch to Chappie, and then we go back to the 8th inning, bottom of the 8th inning. 1-2 count, 1 out, and look at where that pitch is. It is clearly outside from Jimenez. But again, the A's were quite clever in how they were doing this. They knew Nelson was going to call that pitch, so they kept going out there. And it does look from the first image like maybe Chappie had swung at it, but he definitely didn't swing at it. And it was confirmed that it was called a strike. It wasn't a swinging strike, but look where it is. And Chappie just stands there like a statue, looking down at the ground thinking, what on earth am I meant to do here? If you're calling the pitch inside a strike and you're calling it to more than 2 ball whips outside a strike, what am I supposed to do? And yes, tough night. It did affect both teams, it has to be said, but a very, very poor performance by the home plate umpire in Game 2, Jeff Nelson. which all led on to the series decided today on Sunday, and unfortunately it didn't go our way, losing 4-3. But again, we're up against a very good team, unquestionably a team that's going to be right in the playoff hunt. We pushed them all the way. Adam Warner, I thought he was a little bit unlucky here and there. I mean, starting out with your first batter, getting on base with an error by Sheldon Noisy on a really simple ground ball. Don't know how he missed it. That's not a great start for someone who struggled in his debut earlier in the week. He felt to me, I'm a bit surprised by him. He's got more stuff than I thought he would. He can hit 95, 96, and he's got quite a lot of movement. Just feels a bit to me like it's not quite comfortable. He's not really found a comfort zone. It's like everything else is going on around him. He's not in control. And that's no surprise for a guy like him who's only making his second major league start. So let's not get too down on him. And I think, to be fair, were it not for James Kaprelian's injury, I don't think he would be in a rotation now anyway, even with Manaea and Bassett having been traded. So let's not get too big on him, or too down on him, I should say. But he did at least keep things going. Kept battling, so he came out of the game with only 3 runs conceded, so it's not great, but at least we were still in it. Again, bend, don't break. Back in it in the top of the 5th, Stephen Vogt getting his first start of the series, getting his first hit of the season, a nice home run. Great to see Stephen Vogt knocking one out of the park. We then had some heads-up base running by Christian Pache. La Man, Christian Pache got himself around to third base, which set up Sean Murphy's sacrifice fly, so we cut the lead for 3-2. And there again, even though we're up against a really good team, we're right back in it. Annoyingly, as in game 1, we immediately gave that run back in the bottom of the inning, and this was what you see in a young team. Kevin Smith got the ball. I'm really not sure there was a double play on there. He tried to be aggressive, tried to get the lead runner through the ball into right field. It's what you see in young players where they try to do too much sometimes. They try to make the big play rather than just get the share out. So he will learn from that. It cost us today, but he will learn from that. It was a good series for him otherwise. But again, we kept going. We got a run back in the 8th, so we made it close, 4-3, and you really can't have any complaints about that. Yes, we lost, but we pushed them all the way, and given the talent gap, when you look on paper, we've done a really good job here in how we've kept at it, stuck at it, and really pushed a very good team all the way. So it's a 2-1 series loss, but a 5-5 road trip, so got to be very, very pleased with that, more than any of us could have hoped for. We're looking at stars from the series, as we do. I will give firstly a big shout out to Jake Lemoyne, a guy who wasn't really someone I knew much about coming into this season. He pitched really well here, pitched 2/3 of an inning in the first game, scoreless innings, came in a tight spot and did well. And then again today, he had 6 up, 6 down period, went 2 2/3 innings, 40 pitches, looked really good. So great to see Jake Lemoyne. Players like that who can come out of the bullpen and give you a couple of innings, absolute gold dust. So good for Jake Lemoyne. Big honourable mention to him. Christian Pache, we love him so much. He went 1 for 11, but what a big one it was. So, game winner, some great fielding, great base running, we love it. Tony Kemp, 3 for 8, and especially today, how good was he today? 2 for 3, made some cracking plays at second base, especially that one inning where he made all 3 outs. Brilliant stuff from TK. We then had Chad Pinder, Sean Murphy, and Kevin Smith all got at least 1 hit in each of the 3 games. So Chad Pinder went 3 for 10. Sean Murphy 4 for 11, and Kevin Smith 4 for 9. So all did a good job. I was leaning towards Kevin Smith just because of what he'd been through and what a big push it was for him to come to this series, go 4 for 9 and really build on things after such a difficult start. But with the error today, I think, it's tempering me a little bit. I'm going to go star of the series, Sean Murphy, 4 for 11, the big 2-run, big 2 for 4 game in game 2 with the home run, 3 RBIs across the series. Star of the series, Sean Murphy. So there we go, 5-5 across the road trip. very happy with that. The offense is doing well, we're sticking in games, we're showing plenty of heart. If we go down early, we come back into it. If we get pegged back, we don't get demoralised, we keep playing our game. So I am really enjoying this A's team early on, and we now head home for some home cooking with the Baltimore Orioles coming to the Coliseum. So hopefully we can pick up some wins there. And yes, I will be previewing that Baltimore Orioles series here on the YouTube channel on Monday. So keep an eye, click subscribe and all of that stuff, and we will catch up tomorrow to preview the Baltimore Orioles series. But before then, thanks for watching. Who would you have chosen for the series start? Do you agree with Sean Murphy? Who else would you have gone for? Let me know in the comments. And yes, we will keep on enjoying this surprisingly scrappy, good A's team.